Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight. It is the Wednesday edition of the broadcast, June 13, 2012, into Thursday, June 14th, 2012. Thank you so much for being with us tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We're going to be getting into, again, another slow news day. Definitely feels like something is a-brewing, doesn't it? But another slow news day today, so we're going to be working on getting into the few news stories we have, and then we'll continue reading and pick up where we left off last night in our series of reading. We left in the middle of a chapter last night. Got through a couple of chapters. Got a lot accomplished last night, and then we got into a big, long chapter there last night. So we'll pick up where we left off there tonight for you as well. My website where this broadcast originates from is theglobalreality.com. That is theglobalreality.com. Up there you'll find everything pertaining to my work, documentary films that you can watch for free or buy on DVD. Secret 2 is on Blu-ray and DVD. There are several different films. Secret Volume 1, 2, and 9/11 New World Rising are up there. We also have the video clips from past shows. Those are edited out from different shows and put on YouTube. There's a section for that. Archives are up there, and there is also chip-in banners on the right-hand side of the page. One is for the bills for the month, operating costs. The other is chip-in towards the film. And we certainly do need help with that. This is the most important phase of this entire project. I have so much information that needs to get out there that is going to get people interested in a big way and excited about doing this excavation on the rock wall. And that's what is going to comprise part 2. But what's so great about this is that there's so much information, and I'm constantly finding new stuff and finding things out. I'm going to be able to make this part 1 and kind of have it, open-ended and be able to later iterate and further detail the things that I've found up to this point, and get into those more in the subsequent editions. So I think that's what makes it so rewarding, so exciting with this project is just the fact that there's so much that can be done with it, and it goes on so many different territories, and it goes to the heart of how we've been manipulated through science and religion and everything else. It really cuts to the core of some real truth that's not always comfortable. But it's the truth nonetheless, and that's what we're after. So if you can help us out, please do so. Anybody, $500? If you donate $500, you're going to get your name in the film as a co-producer credit. And you're also going to receive your DVD for free as well. Anybody that comes in at the level of what we really need is an executive producer. That's what we need. We need somebody to come in at the executive producer level. That's 2,000 or more. And that would be fantastic. That would help us out big time. And that's what we're looking for. And you'll get your name there, and you'll have the satisfaction of saying you provided the bulk of the money for the film. So please help us out if you can. TheGlobalReality.com. We also have the stream bill due coming up on Friday, so please hit us up and help us out there as well, so we can keep ourselves rolling and trucking on here with shows. Kind of had some issues a week or so ago, and it kind of feels like we're kind of stabilizing, and the fucking airplane is not going to crash into the building. We've averted the crisis. So, but we haven't got any donations this week, and it's already almost Thursday, so it's kind of not good. So it would be good if you guys could throw a few of the shekels, those fucking Templar notes our way. Those goddamn things, I hate them, don't you? But man, if I had me a stack of them, lordy, the things I could do. Good Lord. Yes, indeed. Because that's the only thing, all this stuff, it's just everything is, the level at which you can play the game depends upon the level of, financial backing that you have. And I just would love once to see what, just to, like I was talking about the band Rush last night. I was talking about this interview thing they did, and with Billy Corgan, and one of the things that he'd asked him in there was, well, guess what? Everybody always asks him, how do you find them? These guys are like, almost 60, I guess, been around for almost 40 years. And he kind of asked them what kept them going. And they said that, that what kept them going was the fact that they wanted to see what they could do next, because there's not really much precedent. I think the only other band that's been around, I know for a fact, the only other band that's been around as long as they have with the same original members is ZZ Top. Good old Dallas pride right there, baby. But that's kind of the way I look at this. Is like I'd look to just see what I could do if I had for once had a nice budget for a film, and by nice I don't mean like $2,000. I mean like $20,000 or something. I just love to see that. Love to see what I could do if I had some big backing for once, because I think what I've done on almost absolutely nothing here, just the donations of just a few, really just 4 or 5 different people. I think what I've been able to do with this has been pretty phenomenal. I mean, yeah, but of course, but the thing is, that's what is so unfair when people judge my work, or they look at my the quality of my work, and they, oh, that looks like it was made on Windows Movie Maker. I'm like, dude, you realize I have no money to make this, right? This was made on zero budget. So it really is a feat of technology, and a feat of strength to be able to make something. I mean, like the little 4-minute preview I had. I mean, the quality, that's just fantastic. But that's taken a lot of work for me to get there. You know what I mean? That's not just because that was everything since C-Write 2. Everything I've done since C-Write 2 has all been done on the Mac and Final Cut Pro. So, but you can see how none of it looks alike, because I've figured out ways to be able to utilize various things within the program to where you've got some variety, and it's not looking the same every time. But I just sometimes I think I should film this process of me making a film, because you just laugh. It's just hilarious. Like one dude doing all that. I mean, it's my goodness, the hours, hundreds and thousands of hours. It's just, it's worth it, but it's just difficult. Like in times like now when you have hardly anything to work with, and it does make you wonder, if I wasn't having to spend all my time fundraising and all this shit, and I could just focus on the film and more research, it just would probably blow your mind what more I could do. If I had a little war chest to work with. So, it's a numbers game. I've been doing this almost 5 years. And, it's just like with anything. If you stick around long enough, you get your due. You do. I mean, the only people that don't get their due are the people who quit. And I don't care what walk of life you're talking, whether it be, really, it happens a lot in bands. The only bands that don't get their due are the bands that quit. Everybody else eventually gets your due. If you stick around long enough, you get your due. I mean, hell, Rush is getting their due now. It's taken fucking 40 years. They've been panned by critics and everything else, but because everybody else from their generation is either dead or washed up, and they've stayed at the top of their game nonstop their entire career, they've got a leg up on people. And so that's kind of how I feel about what I'm doing here. I mean, September will be our 5th year anniversary, and that's half a decade, and so it's kind of one of those things where anything you do long enough, if you stick around and you stick at it, eventually you are going to get your due, and you are going to get what you need to get your work done. Because if you didn't eventually get that, then you wouldn't, if that wasn't an eventuality for me, I wouldn't have made it this far. You know what I mean? Somebody or something or some, energy or something wants me to be successful at this because they know that my intentions are true and that this is my mission in life. This is my life's work. This is what I do. This is my job. This is what consumes me. And that's, I think that eventually there's going to be people that are going to recognize that, and they're going to see that what this is. And I've been getting, I've just really been blown away at the opportunities like this, these proposed 2 different TV shows that I might be involved with. It's fantastic stuff. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what it is. The only people who don't get their just due in the end are the people that quit, the people that give up. And, people who have given up and who have quit, it's funny, are always the first ones who want to tell you why you should quit, why you shouldn't do it, because, they don't want you to make them look bad because you didn't give up and you stuck with it. So then they start, being jealous towards you because, things start to happen and start to go your way when you stick it out and you don't quit. And that's the whole thing. You can say anything about any reason why people stop doing things that they do for whatever reason, whether, life happens, shit happens, whatever else. But in the end, it's only the people who quit and give up that don't get their due and get what they deserve. Quitters never win. Oh, man. You know what else never wins? Trying to please people. Man. I just sometimes I wonder why I ever decided to do a talk radio show, because it just seems like a lot lately. Everything comes out of my mouth offends somebody. And not that I give a shit, and I never have, and maybe you don't know that about me, and maybe that's why your butt hurt. But man, it seems lately that a lot of people just, I don't know. I guess they didn't know what they were getting into. I'm a fucking asshole. That's all there is to it. I'm a fucking asshole. You didn't know that? Well, now you do. So you need to make the decision whether you want to keep listening or not, because I'm not going to tell you twice. But, take the butt hurt on home. It's been running rampant lately, I don't know what people think that I'm supposed to somehow either get people who are they get starstruck, or they get kind of they treat you with that sort of cult of personality mentality. You get that, or you get the opposite of that. I don't know which one's worse, which is the you owe me something people. For whatever reason, there's a group of people out there who, even though you've never had any contact with them in your life, ever, Never had any business dealings with him, never had any financial dealings with him, or never even met them in person, don't know him from Adam. There is a subsection of people out there who treat people who are, following their path, who treat those people, in fucked up ways. It's bad. BigOverReality.com is my website. Let's get into our news here. I could just sit here and rant all night, rant salad. I saw this strange article about the up-and-coming Olympics opening ceremony, and it said Olympic opening ceremony will recreate countryside with real animals, village cricket, maypoles, and rain. And I was like, that's odd. Why would they throw rain in there? You would think they wouldn't want it to rain. What is this? Is this a hint to some possible weather mod stuff going on? I mean, we know they were doing it in China last time, right? Beijing Olympics. So I'm going through this whole long-ass article. I don't see anything about this rain and blah, 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 blah. And then you get down to the very bottom of the article, and it has some, broken English. Broken English. It's got some, broken English, translation about this rain. And it does kind of hint, I think, at least, I'll read it to you, at some weather mod stuff going on during the opening Olympic ceremony. It says, you will feel different when you're in there and you hear it ring. When you hear it, it is very sweet. It's ancient, so it reminds you of the past. It's also timeless, so it evokes the future. He also said that there would be real clouds released over the stadium. They will be real clouds that will be hanging over the stadium. Work that out if you can. We know we're an island culture and an island climate. One of these clouds will provide rain on the evening just in case it doesn't rain. I mean, that's right there. He just admitted to weather modification, didn't he? Am I off the mark on that? Let me read it again. They will be real clouds and they will be hanging over the stadium. So saying that statement, there will be real clouds. I mean, as if why do you have to put the caveat on there that they're real? As opposed to what? Fake clouds? So they're fake real clouds or real fake clouds? I'm confused. Work that out if you can. What is that? That's a smart-ass comment. Work that out if you can. You'll figure it out, you dumb American roundy. We know we're an island culture and an island climate. One of these clouds will provide rain on the evening just in case it doesn't rain. What? So in case it doesn't rain, we have real clouds on standby hanging over the stadium to provide rain just in case it doesn't rain? What the fuck is this guy saying? And what the fuck does having an island climate and island culture have to do with Olympics being in London? Ha 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 ha! I'm back from the grave to fuck with your mind, Kim Jong-il. Ha 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 ha! Oh my god! Yeah, that's fucked. Ancient effect harnessed to produce electricity from waste heat. A phenomenon first observed by an ancient Greek philosopher 2,300 years ago has become the basis for a new device designed to harvest the enormous amounts of energy wasted as heat each year to produce electricity. The first of its kind pyroelectric nano generator is the topic of a report in ACS journal Nano Letters. Zong Lin Wang. How would you like your name to be Zong Lin Wang? I don't know. I just feel like I just go around, flopping it out everywhere if my name was Wang. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And colleagues at Georgia Tech explained that more than 50% of the energy generated in the U.S. each year goes to waste, much of it as heat released to the environment by everything from computers to cars to long-distance electric transmission lines. Heat can be converted to electricity using something called the pyroelectric effect, the first described by the Greek philosopher Theocritus in 314 BC, when he noticed the gemstone tourmaline produced static electricity and attracted bits of straw when heated. heating, and cooling rearrange the molecular structure of certain materials, including tourmaline, and create an imbalance of electrons that generate an electric an electric current. Sorry, something fucking bit me or something. That was a weird feeling. Wang's group wanted to apply the ancient principle to make it a nano generator that could take advantage of heat changes in the modern world, which uses a time-dependent temperature change to generate electricity. To do that, the researchers made nanowires out of zinc oxide, a compound added to paints, plastics, electronics, and even food. Using an array of short lengths of nanowires standing on end, they demonstrated a device that produces electricity when heated or cooled. They suggest the nano generators could even produce power as temperatures fluctuate from day to night. This new type of NIG can be the basis for self-powered nanotechnology that harvests thermal energy from the time-dependent temperature fluctuations in our environment for applications such as wireless sensors, temperature imaging, medical diagnostics, and personal microelectronics. And that seems to be the hot rage. They want to basically, they want to turn everything into the Matrix, essentially, more than it already is. They want to start powering everything with bioelectric, bioetheric energy. New evidence supports theory of extraterrestrial impact is from the Science Daily. An 18-member international team of researchers that includes James Kennett, professor of earth science at UC Santa Barbara, has discovered melt glass material in a thin layer of sedimentary rock. Now listen to this. In Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Syria. Anybody else with me think it's a little bit odd? I mean, this further proves my theory that, and not just my theory, a lot of people believe this as well, that the landmass was all interconnected a lot more recent back in our history than we've been told. And that, I think, is evident by the fact they found, African artifacts in South America. But, I mean, you're talking about Pennsylvania and South Carolina. That's on the East Coast. God, that would probably lock up just about perfectly, wouldn't it, if you connected the land masses together? I mean, I'm just going from memory here. I'm not looking at a map, but it seems to me that Syria would probably interlock pretty close to Pennsylvania and South Carolina, wouldn't it? So this is fascinating, kind of right up my alley. It's just strange. A melt glass material in a thin layer of sedimentary rock in Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Syria. According to the researchers, the material, which dates back nearly 13,000 years, was formed at temperatures from 1,700 to 2,200 degrees Celsius, 3,100 to 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit, and is the result of a cosmic body impacting Earth. These new data are the latest to strongly support the controversial Younger Dryas boundary hypothesis, which proposes that a cosmic impact occurred 12,900 years ago at the onset of an unusual cold climatic period called the Younger Dryas. This episode occurred at or close to the time of a major extinction of the North American megafauna, including mammoths and giant ground sloths, and the disappearance of prehistoric and widely distributed Clovis culture. The researchers' findings appear in the June 11th issue of the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. These scientists have identified 3 contemporaneous levels more than 12,000 years ago on 2 continents yielding silicous scoria-like objects, said H. Richard Lane, Program Director of National Science Foundation's Division of Earth Sciences, which funded the research. SLOs are indicative of high-energy cosmic airburst impacts, bolstering the contention that these events induced the beginning of the Younger Dryas. That time was a major departure in biotic, human, and climate history. Morphological and geochemical evidence of the melt glass confirms that the material is not cosmic, volcanic, or of human-made origin. The very high-temperature melt glass appears identical to that produced in known cosmic impact events such as Meteor Crater in Arizona and the Australasian Tektite Field. The melt material also matches melt glass produced by the Trinity nuclear airburst of 1945 in Socorro, New Mexico. The extreme temperatures required are equal to those of an atomic bomb blast, high enough to make sand melt and boil. The material evidence supporting the YDB cosmic impact hypothesis spans 3 continents and covers nearly 1/3 of the planet from California to Western Europe and into the Middle East. The discovery extends the range of evidence in Germany and Syria, the easternmost site yet identified in the Northern Hemisphere. The researchers have yet to identify a limit to debris field of the impact. Because these 3 sites in North America and the Middle East are separated by 1,000 to 10,000 kilometers, there were most likely 3 or more major impact airburst epicenters for the YDB impact event, likely caused by a swarm of cosmic objects that were fragmented of either a meteorite or a comet. The PNAS paper also presents examples of recent independent research that supports the YDB cosmic impact hypothesis and supports 2 independent groups that found melt glass in the YDB layers in Arizona and Venezuela. The results strongly refute the assertion of some critics that no one can replicate the YDB evidence or that the material simply fell from space non-catastrophically. He added that the archaeological site in Syria where the melt glass material was found, Abu Huraira, in the Euphrates Valley, is one of the few sites of its kind that record the transition from nomadic hunter-gatherers to farmer-hunters who live in permanent villages. Archaeologists and anthropologists consider this area the birthplace of agriculture, which occurred close to 12,900 years ago. Oh, man. Really? That's unbelievable. I mean, it really almost seems like these impact craters that they find with these, alleged meteorites and stuff, it really almost seems like they coincide with the arrival of Anunnakis or whatever they may be on Earth. Because, again, as we've talked about recently, Bud Shelton, geologist, finds this ancient meteorite near a rock quarry near Rockwall. Serpent Mound, Ohio, sits on top of an ancient meteorite. It has piezoelectrical properties just like the rock wall does. And so they find this in the same location, same exact location. See, I've also often wondered if maybe it wasn't the Anunnaki, maybe it was some other race of extraterrestrials, I don't know. But whoever it was, I kind of got this, I was talking about that last night, the terraforming and whatnot. But I almost get the impression that we like to call these things acts of God, and if a natural event happens, but what if they're not acts of God, but acts of the gods, or acts of the people who purport themselves to be gods? Because if you wanted to cause an extinction level event on a planet where you wanted to genetically manipulate the species there and set up your own shop and your own game, but didn't want those people in the future to find that out, well, that'd be a perfect place, wouldn't it? So I just find it highly coincidental that here, in Syria, where there is just, my God, that's why do you think all the stuff's going on in Syria right now? The place is an archaeological wonderland. I mean, some of the original Anunnaki settlements were made there in Syria. And I just find it unbelievable that, again, we have this, the birthplace of agriculture, where the gods gave humans crops and the ability to grow them. And here we are again with this, agate, or whatever, not agate, but tourmaline, which I have some right here on my desk. another one of these crystals and what. I think tourmaline. I think there was actually some tourmaline in the rock wall as well. And yet again, another meteor crater. This is fascinating. So I think that there is some kind of strange connection to locations of meteorite craters and, the appearance of these alleged extraterrestrial gods. Mosquitoes that are unable to infect people with malaria, the malaria parasite, are being bred by scientists. The radical approach could help curb one of the world's most pressing public health issues, researcher at University of California, Irvine, believe. As much as that sounds like a good idea, it worries me, Genetically modified mosquitoes, Bill Gates is into that too. I don't know, man. Maybe we should just... I don't know. It just seems like a plot to a terrible movie. Genetically modified mosquitoes, like Piranha 3DD or something. Let's see what else we have here tonight. This is insane. By the way, the Canadian cannibal gay sex dude who sent his lover's dismembered body parts. By the way, I don't know if you guys knew this or not. I didn't know this until tonight, but the actual video is posted online of that. You can actually see it's called one lunatic, one ice pick. I guess like, two girls, one cup or whatever. And when it was first released on the internet, a lot of people thought it was a hoax. And then body parts started showing up at schools and, different places like that. And then they realized, it came out in the news after that, and people started realizing, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This guy who did this is also the same guy who made this video, which had made its way around gore sites. Everybody thought it was, a fake snuff video or something else of that matter. And come to find out, it's absolutely real. Being the glutton for discussing things that I am, I've just always been that way. Me and my buddies used to, make fucking, big pans full of, we were in high school, middle school and stuff. We'd make like pans full of, chili and eggs and mix it all together and watch Faces of Death, people getting electrocuted and shit coming out of their mouths and stuff, like real footage. So I did track down this video because once I read this article, and congratulations to this guy. This guy is a grade A psycho. Shoot to kill if you see this guy. I still don't think they've caught him, but if you see this guy, shoot to kill. Really, seriously, don't ask questions. If you see this guy, this gay, dismembering porn star dude, shoot on sight. Okay? And if they ask you why you did it, say, Josh Reeves told me to. And I'll back you up on that. Why? Because I saw the video. And I wouldn't advise it. I am not going to tell anyone in my audience to go watch that video. If you do, you didn't hear that from me. Now, I'll back you up if you go shoot the gay dismembering porn star guy in the head or something. I'll back you up on that. But, no. You try to tell somebody I told you to watch that video, you are wrong. I will not tell you to watch that video. I did it for research purposes because of this article I'm about to read to you that concerns this. But, it was the most sick and disgusting and disturbing thing I have ever seen in my life. It absolutely was. Topped off by the fact, and this is where I shut it off. I didn't watch anymore after. I mean, I can handle heads getting cut off. You know what I mean? I can handle watching someone be the guy was alive too. I mean, he killed him alive on tape, y'all. Like, no shit. Like, I'm not even kidding you. You see him moving around and tied up, and he's alive. He's totally naked, the Asian guy. And he literally just starts going to town on him with an ice pick. And then he just starts randomly cutting him up, and then he starts dismembering him. And, I can handle that. I can handle heads getting chopped off. I can handle, arms getting cut off and dismemberment and all that stuff. That's no problem. But this guy, this sick fuck, took it to a whole other level that I wasn't prepared for and had not heard about, and had to immediately stop the video because it was the goddamn sickest act that I have ever personally witnessed ever. And I don't think anything could ever top this. He takes one of the guy's dismembered arms that he's already cut off, and he pulls his shit out, his own junk. And I kid you not, starts fucking jerking himself off with the guy's dismembered arm. You can't make that kind of shit up. I was like, no. Oh, no, really? He literally starts jerking himself off with the dead guy's arm. It's cut off from his body. Man. You've seen those movies like Saw and all that stuff. Human Centipede. Yeah, you thought Human Centipede was bad. Oh, man. It was, yeah. I mean, and what's so fascinating about it is that I went and looked at the dates on when the video was posted, and when the video was first posted, everybody thought it was just going around the Gore website, and nobody had really heard about this case yet. And then right after that, within a couple of weeks, body parts started showing up, and then everybody started making the connection. Everybody went, oh, because, there's a lot of people out there that into gore and into the gross stuff, but even though, from what I saw, once the truth came out about it, because everybody at first was just like, oh, it's fake. So everybody was watching it, because everybody's like, this is so fucked up. This has got to be fake. Come on. You just cut the arm off that guy and you're jerking yourself off with it, making a hand wrap around your cock and stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody thought it was like, this is great. I mean, it's fake, but, this is sick and sadistic. All right, And then it started to sink in that this wasn't a joke and this wasn't fake. Because, there's so many fakes of every shape and size and everything on the internet, So people just get accustomed to seeing fakes. And this was one of those rare examples where, because everybody's, oh, fake. Everybody's quick to holler fake at everything. And then this came out and people realized, what they thought was fake was actually real. Woo. But that, even all of that has been topped. Listen to this and tell me this isn't trauma-based mind control right here. A teacher in Montreal, Canada has been suspended after he made his 10th grade class watch the horrific video that allegedly shows Luca Magnotta murdering, eating, and dismembering his lover. School officials condemned the popular young instructor's decision to air the footage in his civics and history class. They have provided psychological counseling for the 25 students who saw the disturbing images. I mean, this guy should go to prison. What happens if you show a bunch of maybe it's different in Canada, I don't know. But as far as I know, in most places, if you show what could be considered to be pornographic material, and this most certainly could consider to be pornographic material of the highest caliber, if you show that to people under 18, it's fucking pound you in the ass prison time. Get ready for Bubba because he's about to make you his bitch. But, it does make you wonder, though, was this really the act of just some rogue principal? I mean, this guy didn't have a history of this before. He didn't have a history of showing it. So was it really this guy, or did this come down from the top? Did this come from the top down? And, I went and looked this guy up to see if he had any history of showing other videos or having a history of being a problem teacher. None at all. No. So this combined with the bath salts thing and the whole cannibalist thing, I mean, it does seem that there is some sort of, and I haven't really sussed out for what reason yet, but it does seem there is some sort of psychological warfare campaign going on that involves people murdering other people and eating them and doing gay stuff. And why do you got to throw the gay stuff in there, too? That's what I don't get. It's not enough that you fucking stab somebody with an ice pick and cut their head off and eat their flesh. You got to fuck them, too. You got to jerk yourself off with their dismembered arm. Jesus Christ, man. And, this has come as a result of, violent video games and violent movies and everything in this disconnect from people who don't have a grip on reality already, and they commit these acts because to them it's just like, playing fucking Left 4 Dead or something. I thought about this, and there's an article here from The Atlantic, The Wire, and I hadn't thought about this because I remember back in 2008, the first go-round of the Obama election campaign, I remember everybody, a lot of people I do saying, oh, we're voting for Obama because he's going to legalize weed. No, so he's not going to legalize weed. It's not going to happen. And he's come out and said that numerous times. But now, because the guy is in such trouble, both with voters and with his own party and everything else, rumors are going around that Obama may drop the weed legalization secret weapon bomb in October as his quote-unquote October surprise. They always have to have that terminology in there. I thought the October surprise was an act by a terrorist most of the time. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, gotcha. The Muslim-sounding name. Yeah, forgot about that. Thank you. In 2004, George W. Bush's re-election campaign worked to put in anti-gay marriage initiatives on the ballot for vote in several swing states in order to turn out more hardcore conservatives to the polls. This year, the question is whether marijuana legalization measures will turn out young voters for Obama. Bush's plan to use gay marriage bans in states that did not actually allow gay marriage as a turnout booster led to signs featuring icky public restroom symbols proliferated and liberal panic that the Christian right had taken over. The press obsessed over values voters. One of Bush's aides, Ken Melman, who later came out as gay himself, has apologized for the strategy. Two others say it didn't work. This year, there's another incumbent president with modest approval ratings who could turn out his base with controversial ballot measures, but this time the issue features no biblical or scatological imagery. In 2012, voters in swing states will decide whether they'll allow their fellow citizens to bear joints. Unlike the gay marriage vote, there's no indication that Obama's reelection team is behind any of the pot legalization initiatives, but there are Democrats who are hoping that it will boost turnout among weed's biggest fans. And I said that from Jump Street. You can go back and listen to, it's actually on YouTube. It's a video the night Obama was elected, and I said on that broadcast, the night that he was elected, absolute fact, that at some point, maybe not in the first term, but maybe in the second term, but at some point, that Obama would legalize marijuana. It would probably be right on his way out. But the only reason he would do it is because no matter what other shitty things him and Bush or anybody else has done, in the eyes of people, a lot of people, not all people, certainly not all people at all, but in the eyes of a certain demographic of potheads, they're going to forget about everything he's done because then they're going to be, he's going to be the savior. And, have fun smoking that fucking Monsanto GMO shit. You forgot he gets fucked in the ass by Monsanto, too, huh? Because you know how it goes. Shit rolls downhill. If the president gets fucked in the ass by Monsanto, what's that mean? Everybody else gets fucked in the ass by Monsanto. Well, smoke them up, boys. Eat them up and drink them up, because check it out. Oh, yeah. This is the news you've all been waiting for, especially you big guys like me. You ready for this? It's the advice every man trying to become a father wants to hear. Have a drink and relax. Researchers said yesterday that they have evidence that it probably won't harm their chances of starting a family, nor will smoking, taking drugs, or being overweight. They found that men with unhealthy lifestyles were likely to be just as fertile as those living more sensibly. So guess what, ladies? Believe the hype. We've been telling you for years and you hadn't believed us. We can shoot a load like a shotgun, like Inky with the best of them. I don't drink, so it doesn't really matter. But still. Yeah, the big guys need love too. Come on. So drink them up, boys. Smoke them up. No problems. You're still going to be able to shoot, at full capacity. I mean, that's the best news you're going to get all day. It's the best I can do for you. It's all downhill from there. But you just know you'll sleep well at night knowing that you can eat, drink, and smoke whatever the fuck you want. You're still going to be able to shoot a proper load. Now, getting it up, you're on your own with that one. But God damn it, at least you won't be shooting blanks, right? You may be rolling a softie, but you won't be rolling a dry softie. Let's just put it like that. Last night I talked about the all of a sudden everybody's launching new telescopes, and why is there what are we looking for here? Why all of a sudden is there a big initiative to put up new satellites and new telescopes, and just every day there's stories about it? NASA drops rocket-powered New Star telescope from plane, which promptly soars into space. NASA has launched its latest X-ray space telescope on a 2-year hunt for black holes lurking in the heart of the Milky Way and other galaxies. The telescope was launched by a rocket released from a carrier aircraft that took off from the remote Kwajalein Atoll, a horseshoe-shaped island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I got some friends who are there right now. Tony and Melody, they listen to the show sometimes. Tony and Melody, you're listening to Kwajalein. Am I saying that completely wrong? Probably, yeah. I'm probably butchering it like I butcher every other fucking name. Well, Tony and Melody, if you're listening out there on an archive, I saw you guys liked the show archive last night. Let me know if I'm saying it right. Kwajalein Atoll, is that how you say that? I've seen some pictures from there, though. A guy I know, Tony, he's a musician in a band called Southern Karma, and he got a contract working with an electrical company or something before he gets, lives on this island for a year and gets a fat paycheck or something like that. And I just made me think of that because I never really even heard of that place. It's near Hawaii somewhere. And then to see it here in this article, I guess they launched this NASA, because the only thing I thought was there was like, military bases and stuff. The telescope then separated from the rocket as planned and unfurled solar panels as it orbited about 350 miles above the Earth. NASA chose to air launch the mission because it's cheaper than rocketing off from a launch pad. The Nuclear Spectroscope Telescope Array, or NuSTAR for short, focuses high-energy X-rays to peel through gas and dust to search for supermassive black holes in the center of the galaxies, remnants of exploded stars, and other exotic celestial objects. While black holes are invisible, the region around them gives off telltale X-rays. NuSTAR will observe previously unknown black holes and map hidden ones. By shining light on never-before-seen parts of the universe, scientists hope to better understand how galaxies form and evolve. Oh, so I get it now. So they're worried. Because, all this stuff, the only reason these guys are worried about anything, you didn't give a fuck if anything comes and kills all and destroys all of us. They don't give a fuck about that. Only thing these guys are worried about is mitigating anything that may fuck up their world domination scheme. That's what all of this is for. They'll let an asteroid slip through and nuke a fucking city and blame it on Al-Qaeda, I'm sure, at some point. But, all this stuff is to just ensure their supremacy rides on into the future. But this article kind of makes me wonder and think. I've never done any research. There's probably somebody that's already, everything I think of, I go and research and go, oh, yeah, okay, well, somebody's already written their fucking masterwork on this, their fucking thesis. But I don't have any way to prove this, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff. It seems that since Steve Jobs from Apple passed away, there's been a lot of stories coming out about, it just everything's coming, all his secrets and everything are coming out, basically. And I've often wondered and speculated if maybe he was working for the CIA, and this article kind of confirms that for me. LSD was a positive, life-changing experience for me. Steve Jobs opened up to the Pentagon about his drug habits and secret files. Now, it's no secret that Jobs was into hallucinogens and things of that nature. He talked about that openly. That came out a lot after he passed away. But this is the first time that they have brought out the fact that Steve Jobs was talking about these drug experiences with the Pentagon. Now, what is a guy who designs computers talking about a drug, which, as John Lennon talked about, just what got him killed single-handedly, his statements in Playboy magazine that people need to look into LSD and how it was created by the Army to control our minds, but ha ha ha, it blew up in their face and backfired, and it actually set us free. So I find that highly, highly suspect that Jobs goes on to do all these things with Apple that he's done, and especially I find it highly suspect when I have, read stories and heard rumors and different things that supposedly the CIA had touchscreen communicators like iPhones back in the 1970s. It wasn't a secret that Steve Jobs dabbled in recreational drugs, but new Pentagon files reveal just how much he valued the mind-altering substances, crediting his LSD use with having a life-changing effect on him. In a government security clearance questionnaire filled out in 1988 and released this week, the late Apple founder divulged he took LSD up to 15 times between 1972 and 1974. Is that all? What you beat, buddy? Well, he said he had no words to explain how he reacted to the hallucinogenic drug. He told the Department of Defense officials, "It was a positive, life-changing experience for me, and I'm glad I went through that experience." Mr. Jobs, who died in October after a year-long battle with pancreatic cancer, opened up about his drug use in the background check he completed to gain top-secret security clearance with the DOD while he was working at Pixar. I mean, what? I mean, how does somebody just write that nonchalantly in a sentence and people just don't even think it? Why the fuck do you need top-secret security clearance with the Department of Defense while you're working at Pixar, which is an animation studio for kids' movies? I mean, really? That's got to send off, but that's the story. But why isn't that the headline? No, it's Steve Jobs that took LSD and talked to the Pentagon about it, when he actually didn't talk to the Pentagon about it. It was on a questionnaire for a security clearance. That's the story. That's the story. You people wouldn't know journalism if it bit you on your fucking white asses. The story is not, oh, he talked to the Pentagon about doing acid. No. The story and the question is why in the shit does a guy who's working for a fucking computer animation company need top secret clearance with the Department of Defense? I mean, have you seen the shit that they put in Disney movies through the years with the cocks in the background and Little Mermaid and all that shit? Subliminal sex messages in The Lion King. I mean, on and on and on. And no explanation as to why Steve Jobs needed a Department of Defense clearance. Oh, listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. According to Walter Isaacson's biography of Mr. Jobs, the security clearance was required because intelligence agencies were using Pixar's image computer for rendering information from reconnaissance flights and satellites. Oh. Okay. So that makes it all right, right? He was just, he had to have why does he have to have a security clearance if they're using his shit? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't the Department of Defense need clearance from Steve Jobs to use his computers for their rendering of information from reconnaissance flights? Something doesn't add up there. That makes zero sense. This is bullshit. I'm sorry. This is fucking horseshit. They're lying out of their asses here. You don't give security clearance to someone who you're going to their place to use their shit. What the fuck is that? Reverse security clearance? Man, that's just too much. So, regardless of that, that shows you right there that Steve Jobs and Apple, just as Bill Gates and Microsoft have both been working intimately with the Department of Defense and other government agencies for years and years and years. And that's always been kind of the thing for the snobby Mac users. Don't get me wrong, I like Mac products as much as anybody else. I like PC products and Windows products too, but that's always been kind of the thing for Mac, sort of the Mac elitists. That, Microsoft, Windows, it has all the, NSA backdoors, and they can get in your backdoor. And, that doesn't happen on Mac. So, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you sure? You sure about that? Okay. Maybe you want to reconsider that. Well, if you can't wrap your mind around that, let's see if you can wrap your mind around this. Humans evolved from a prehistoric shark that roamed the seas more than 300 million years ago. A prehistoric shark, huh? Well, these guys are desperate. Ancient aliens must just be kicking their ass. Or maybe my stuff is kicking their ass too, I don't know. The primitive fish named the Acanthodes brony was the common ancestor of the all-jawed vertebrates on Earth, including us. A reanalysis of the brain case dating back 290 million years shows it was an early member of the modern gnathostomes, meaning the jaw mouse, that includes tens of thousands of living vertebrates ranging from fish, birds, reptiles, mammals, and humans. So, sharks with frickin' laser beams on their frickin' foreheads. We're all evolved from sharks. Congratulations. Bet you didn't think you were going to wake up and hear that today, did you? Oh, honey, come here. What's going on? Oh, we're all born from sharks, yes. Let's see what else we have. A bug that normally gives children the sniffles could help fight cancer. Researchers are hopeful that reovirus, which usually causes mild colds or stomach upsets, has the power to shrink tumors. The virus, which would be given to outpatients through a drip, could be used in the future to fight diseases including skin and breast cancer. Crucially, it seems to produce fewer side effects than conventional cancer treatments. Human trials are being carried out, and if successful, experts predict a cancer-zapping drug based on the virus. Well, cancer, it's a fungus, is what it is. And instead of giving patients medicines that kill fungus, they give them radiation that kills people, and they milk you until your insurance is done, and when your insurance is done, they say, okay, no more, can't stay at our hospital anymore, now you need to go somewhere else and die. That's how they do it. I saw it happen. But that's the problem. They're using the whole chemotherapy thing is one of the biggest scams ever. It does not prolong life. It does not extend life. It takes life away. Period. End of story. And if you don't believe me, then you need to see it for yourself. A man in Oregon has been infected with the plague. What in the shit? I told you. Didn't I read a story, 6 months ago, that said that somebody was fucking around with the Black Plague and all these other different ancient viruses and stuff in a lab, and I said, maybe that's not a good idea. They're probably going to use this as a bioweapon outbreak later on. Well, here you go. A man in Oregon has been infected with the plague. Yes, you heard that correct. The actual plague. The same disease that wiped out up to 60% of Europe in the Middle Ages. He caught the rare but deadly strain of the bacteria after he was bitten on the hand trying to pry a dead mouse from the jaws of a stray neighborhood cat. The man, whose name was not released, is currently fighting the most horrific form of the disease, septicemic plague, which can cause victims to bleed from the mouth, nose, and rectum. The trifecta. Ooh. The bacterium behind the plague that ravages Europe in the 14th century, Yersinia pistis, is still carried by fleas that infect animals across the world, mostly rats. So, man, it's like you don't have enough indignities in your life. You got to worry about catching the motherfucking plague now? Well, this has all the conspiracy theorists yelling because, that's been one of the things that people have talked about is stuff going on at Yellowstone, Yosemite Park, and rock closures, forced Yosemite closures. I mean, there's big rocks coming down on parks, and they've had to close off whole areas. I think everybody thinks Nibiru is on its way. Run. Well, that's all the news we got for tonight. Told you that, man. It's been slim pickings lately. Slim pickings. It ain't no lie. Well, we're going to take a break, come back, and get into our series of reading for you here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. Find everything up there pertaining to my work. And again, please support us and help us out. We're trying to raise some cash to get the first installment of this film out so we can get some interest. And I think we are going to get some interest out there from this film into people that want to, put some cash into getting a dig done. And that's what we're hoping for. But in order to do that, we're going to need your help to help get out Volume 1 of this film. So go to theglobalreality.com and make a secure donation there, one of our shipping banners, either for the film or towards our operating costs. And please help us continue with this vital and important work. We can't do it without you. And, you're half of the equation. I'm the other half. So we got to be working together. And just please help us out if you can. We'll take a break, come back, get into more for you here tonight. This is The Global Reality. Stay with us. All right, back here with you on The Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We're going to be continuing our series of reading here tonight, The Lost Worlds of Ancient America. Last night, we had gotten into a chapter that was discussing the Rock Lake and this red dragon enigma, which is just fascinating. So I'd like to carry on for you now from that chapter. Another aspect of the Rock Lake story that did not set well with the existing data was the story of the Wilson brothers and their discovery of an underwater pyramid shortly after the turn of the 20th century. Various accounts all read the same. They were duck hunting in the midst of a prolonged drought, so lake levels were very low and the water unusually clear. They sailed above shallow depths when one of the brothers looked over the side to behold a building sitting on the bottom of the lake. They claimed to have been able to touch the top of it with their oars. The excited men rowed back into town and notified local townsfolk, and a flotilla of citizenry descended on the lake in all manner of vessels, led by the Wilsons, who guided them back to the mysterious underwater structure. Arriving at the spot, they were awed by the drowned spectacle. Young boys dove into the water and swam around the top of it. Others touched the apex with their oars, as the Wilson brothers had done. And now no one could doubt the veracity of the old Indian tales. A week or so later, a reporter from the Milwaukee Herald entrained for Lake Mills to investigate the story of the sensational sunken pyramid. The man was rowed out to the same position on the lake by the Wilson brothers. But when he looked over the side of the boat, the cloudy, dark waters, he saw nothing. Claude Wilson explained that lake levels had risen again since the sighting, and recent rainstorms stirred up silt and algae so much that visibility had badly deteriorated. The visiting reporter's published article lampooned Lake Mills residents for engaging in a hoax or some sort of hucksterism on behalf of a profit. The townspeople took this hard, and mention of the pyramids was generally avoided for the next several decades. God damn. See, that's a kind of small-town horse shit that's kept the rock wall buried. And people ask me all the time, it's one of the biggest questions I get, well, how come this is covered up and blah, 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 blah. And people don't realize that oftentimes it's something as simple as shit like that. The lake was down, the water was clear, A bunch of people saw it. Some reporter came out after a thunderstorm, claimed it was a hoax, and then it wasn't even polite to bring it up or talk about it for decades after it, leaving it completely dormant and any research or anything else done because it's just, it was just a hoax. My God, don't you see how long and the methodologies, how they perpetuate these lies now, folks? And I hope that answers that question for you out there. I mean, a lot of people, ask me that same question. And I always tell them, look, it's just small town horseshit for the most part. And, I've grown up in small towns and lived in small towns and stuff, and I know how it is. And that's all it took. And the townspeople of the area for generations avoided even talking about, these pyramids even being there, even though they were witnessed. Can you imagine that? Think about that. Think about that mind control. A bunch of people saw it. A bunch of people witnessed it. Then they convinced themselves to go to sleep about it, all because one stupid reporter couldn't see it because of the lake levels being back again, and it was not polite to talk about it for decades after that. But I'm telling you, folks, that's what I hope you understand. That's sometimes all it takes. Now, long after these events, the digitally enhanced photo I held in my hand clearly showed what could only be the pyramid found by Claude and Lee Wilson nearly 100 years before, and I had good reasons for this supposition. Their account put them at the south end of the lake and in relatively shallow water. Their described position was nowhere near the locations of currently known structures. And the drop in lake levels caused by the 1901 drought would have had to have been of biblical proportions for anyone to touch the tops of the monuments discovered at depths recorded by Frank Joseph's expeditions in 1989. Those targets were farther to the north at 60-foot depths. Other physical descriptions of the area of the lake gleaned from published accounts correlate the Wilson brothers' find. The structure they saw in 1901 appears to have been the same pyramidal mound Kennedy found independently in 1967. To confirm this conclusion, we needed to verify the presence of a real physical object in Jack's photo. Any possibility that the apparent structure in the lake might be something natural or modern had to be eliminated. After the midpoint of our July expedition, we approached an area of the lake where the Wilson-Kennedy Pyramid would be most likely found. I noted several landmarks that I had committed to memory from the aerial photo and guided Captain Willock in what seemed the proper direction for our first sweep. At first, the sonar revealed nothing unusual on the lake bottom, but just as we were coming around for another pass, what appeared to be the edge of something man-made flittered across the monitor. The roughly made structure was reminiscent of Kennedy's description of the fist-sized rocks that he said comprised the pyramid that he saw in 1967. Now the figure we observed seemed as though it, too, was comprised of many thousands of similarly fist-sized stones. A sudden course change was ordered because the vessel was entering shallow water. The sonar's torpedo-like towfish needed to be reeled in before it collided with the bottom. At least enough of the sunken target had been documented by the side scan for us to establish that it was real, and probably the same monument seen by both the Wilsons and Kennedy. We also had its DGPS location, enabling us to revisit it without further search. Following our July voyage, I shared my deductions about a common identity for the shallow water pyramid with Frank Joseph. It seemed to him an enlightening discovery. Doubtless, this was the same monument encountered in 1901 and again in 1967. And it meant that the structure his expedition located at 60 feet 10 years earlier was actually a completely new find, never seen before. Joseph seconded my proposal that the shallow water structure we discovered be henceforth known as the Wilson-Kennedy Pyramid. I reminded him that we would need to rename the current pyramidal structure, still associated with John Kennedy. He has suggested it be rechristened the Taylor Pyramid, in memory of Victor Taylor, a Lake Mills scholar who was the major force behind Rock Lake exploration during the pre-World War II period. Taylor suffered persecution for his quest and died prematurely as a consequence. He lies buried in the cemetery behind Lake Mills Pyramid Motel, less than a mile from Rock Lake. It seems only fitting that this important predecessor of all subsequent efforts there be memorialized by one of the structures he researched. On day 2 of the July expedition, I met up with our team aboard the RV Tyrannia to direct dive activities. Professor Schertz and Lloyd Hornbostel rejoined Captain Willock aboard the sonar vessel. We were doing final filming at Bass Rock Bar 1 and planned to cruise over the giant triangle Jack Letourneau photographed from the air. The massive delta shape had been the subject of much discussion and speculation among Rock Lake investigators since its discovery in the early 1930s. Its existence as an unnatural formation was beyond question, but what was it? Jack's aerial reconnaissance firmly established the three-sided figure's precise position, but how to find it by boat now that the feature had disappeared under Rock Lake's dark green waters in abundant weeds? Moreover, its low profile would make the triangle almost indistinguishable to sonar compared to the other smaller structures with their steep flanks. Lloyd wanted to measure its sides and determine the structure's overall size. When our search boat arrived at the delta's location, we could see that the weed bed would not allow our divers visual definition of its perimeter. Our sonar did reveal, however, that the feature showed some height. This information was later verified by running its image through a video waveform monitor. We are still analyzing its data and trying to calculate the Great Triangle's exact dimensions and size. From an aerial perspective, it approximates 300 feet on each side. We may be the first investigators to use the waveform monitor as an archaeological research tool. Results of its work at the Delta are slow and forthcoming because the rules, formulas, and protocol of the device are still being written. Meanwhile, that elusive formation remains undisclosed until we return for our spring expedition. The forest of weeds that cloak it should be gone by then, leaving an opportunity for our divers to make their observations and photographs. Coincidentally, the Great Triangle in Rock Lake points due north, an important parallel with nearby Aslan, with its own northerly oriented delta formation. Data we are collecting about the man-made structures at the bottom of Rock Lake continue to confirm earlier descriptions of the site. So much valid evidence must eventually move authorities at the state of Wisconsin to validate the existence of these features, thereby assuring their protection. That, in fact, is our chief goal, to preserve these remnants of a lost civilization within its sunken 3,000-year-old time capsule. So that's the end of chapter 22. We'll start on chapter 23, although I don't know if we'll get all the way through it tonight, but we'll start on it here. Chapter 23, The Walls of Poseidon. Although Bimini in the Bahama Islands is not a part of the Americas, it does lie just 55 miles outside of Miami, and therefore must have played a significant role as a part of a final port of call for Bronze Age ships laden with copper returning to the ancient world. Is it possible, then, that the most specific and critical part of Plato's account of Atlantis has already been discovered and is right under our noses? Many researchers believe that the empire of Atlantis was far-flung, with outposts in distant places, as would be expected of a maritime culture actively involved with many trading partners. Yet it is also believed that one or several of main centers operated simultaneously. After all, even Plato's account implies that a number of countries or kingdoms made up the heart of the Atlantean Imperium. If we look for Atlantis in the Atlantic Ocean, the best candidates include the Canary Islands, the Madeira, Azores, Bermuda, and Bahamas. Anomalous features have been reported at most of them, though by far the greatest number of photographed, videotaped, measured, and explored occur in the Bahamas. This is probably for a good reason, even though all of the others may have been a part of Atlantis. The only location with the least amount of geological activity is in the Bahamas. As it turns out, they comprise, in effect, a mini-continent. Its geological basement is believed to be granite, covered by thousands of feet of carbonate material. The National Geographic Society's Dr. Maurice Ewing and American geologist Bruce Charles Heezen discovered granite in the Caribbean and speculated that it was either from a continent in formation or an ancient continent. They favored an ancient hypothesis. The Azores, on the other hand, lay in one of the most geologically active and unstable parts of the planet, the mid-Atlantic ridge, which is actually creating new material. The Bahamas are near a subduction zone where material slides under the crust for recycling, a feature that really could cause things to disappear. In a day and a night such as Port Royal, the Jamaican city that literally fell into the sea, Atlantis-like, on June 7, 1692, with its 3,000 residents. Reflecting this geologic potential for violent change, the Bahamas' native Lucayan Indians believed that their islands were once far greater in extent than today, because long ago they were engulfed by the arms of the sea. Their oral traditions complement folk memories of another tribal people, the Yuki in the eastern Tennessee River Valley. Wait a second. The eastern Tennessee River, that's the area around Muscle Shoals where the mounds were at there. Moundville, that's up. So they had something to do with the people that were at the Bahamas? Well, that's pretty fucking interesting. This sounds like that we're talking about these, same guys I've been talking about, these Nephilim, Elohim, Amorite, Canaanite, Phoenician, pre-Hebrew, redhead giant motherfuckers. They claim that two of their jinns, the cat and the fish, originated in the Bahamas, specifically Andros. They recall this island as an almost legendary place in the deep past. The Cherokee, also of Tennessee, but also Georgia, Oklahoma, and the Carolinas, recall the former existence of 5 islands in the Atlantic Ocean. Their Elohi Mona resembled the Old Testament's Elohim of the gods. Oh, my goodness. Oh, you're kidding me. So these ancient people on the Bahamas, their gods were called the Elohi Mona? As in Elohim? As in Nephilim? Oh, my goodness. Well, shit. Who wants to go to the Bahamas? We got an excuse now. Man. I never thought I would ever go to the Bahamas because I never thought I'd have an excuse to go there because I'm not really a beach kind of guy. But, man, let's go now. That's just, let me spell it out for you. Elohi Mona, E-L-O-H-I. That's one word, and then Mona, M-O-N-A. So their god just happened to be called the Elohim as well. My goodness. And what's interesting is they said that these guys, that this was a port used for the copper trade. And the Amorites, when the Amorites were ran out of Mesopotamia, it was said that they fled to the west to the lands where their copper mines were located. And those copper mines were located in Michigan. Similar to Plato's account, the Atlantic islands described by the Cherokee were allegedly destroyed for the immorality of their human inhabitants. Whereas most investigators in search of possibilities for ancient civilizers near the Americas have focused on Bimini and Andros, a new and highly promising site has appeared on the opposite side of these locations, known as the Out Islands, specifically Cat Island. It is the highest point in all of the Bahamas, topping out at a little more than 200 feet. When researcher Ron Smith examined maps of the western Atlantic, he noticed a significant number of unusually shaped coral heads and 3 concentric arcs between Cat Island and Little San Salvador. I had speculated in the early 1990s that it was possible and even likely that any architectural remains in shallow water would have probably been overgrown with coral, and human artifacts might be disguised by such accretion. In fact, coral growing over artificial objects could even help date them. Some suspicious formations have been observed not far from Cat Cay, south of Bimini, including a vertical structure near Moxon Rocks. Smith noted that the part of Cat Island currently above sea level resembles the likeness of a dolphin. Dolphin imagery crops up significantly in Plato's account of Atlantis, such as 100 Nereids or sea nymphs riding on dolphins in the Temple of Poseidon. While sharing Ron's MapQuest findings with me, he indicated what appeared to be two parallel arcs that seemed man-made. That's it, he declared, the Temple of Poseidon. Looking closer, I could discern three parallel arcs suggesting the southern part of as many concentric circles. He then had me measure the common center and project the rest of the outer circle, exactly 3.2 miles, which is precisely the size that Plato gave for the innermost island of Atlantis after converting Greek stadia into miles. Oh, that's highly interesting. We gotta go to the Bahamas, man. Let's do this. Let's have like a global reality cruise to the Bahamas. We'll have all the listeners and all the chat room people. We'll just go on a big cruise to the Bahamas and we'll go dig shit up. God, they'd call in the goddamn fucking National Guard on our asses. They're taking over the island. Oh, Jesus. Other features Ron pointed out began taking on new significance. The coral head's distribution and shape seemed atypical. When viewed with respect to the concentric arcs, they took on a more architectural appearance, especially some U-shaped corals close to the arcs, as if they could have been remnants of bridges or tunnels that had collapsed. The long lines of coral heads, sometimes parallel, evoke canals, one again echoing Plato's account. It was a 6 or 7 mile structure in length, just as long as the Grand Canal in his account, leading to the west in what would have been a huge bay prior to the melting of the Pleistocene glaciers at the close of the last ice age some 10,000 years ago. Ron also indicated what would have been a huge rectangular plain to the south of the canals. In all significant respects, the Bahamas fit more of the criteria for part of Atlantis than any other proposed site. It and the surrounding ancient land masses, such as Caysal Bank, encompass the same land area, thousands of square miles, as presented in Plato's report, including provision for magnificent harbors and enormous bays conducive to the formation of a maritime culture. These features resemble the famed triple concentric ring canals of the indicated sizes, numerous sunken geometric figures photographed consistently since the 1970s. Their artifactual nature is underscored by petroglyphs under the water at Andros, a huge triangular depression like an ancient reservoir, miles in length, and legitimately identified artifacts from the Bimini area itself. By any definition, the Bahamas deserve the most careful scrutiny. The island's Atlantean parallels match the only land area large enough to have possessed those details described by Plato. They encompass the Bahamian landmass of virtually thousands of square miles of surface land area. Before worldwide sea levels rose more than 320 feet following Pleistocene flooding, one could quite literally have walked from the mountains of the Bahamas across a vast plain to the plateau of Andros, with the tongue of the ocean forming one of the best harbors on the planet. 6,000 feet deep and well protected on all sides, almost in the center of this ancient landmass. In fact, this area was surrounded by several large bays and what would have provided excellent harborage. It would have been most unusual if a maritime culture had not developed here. The ancient extent and richness of this land is not derived solely from geological data, but from the remains of large animals and birds that could not possibly have existed on the resources of today's small islands. Large predatory birds, as well as the remains of big quadruped mammals, have been found. 3 miles off the Georgia coast, the remains of ancient elephants that have been recovered suggest the possibility of these pachyderms in the Bahamas as well. They would not have needed a land bridge to cross into the Bahamas, as they are excellent swimmers. The Grand Bahama Bank might even have had its own source of precious metals. A few miles northwest of Bimini, the bank bulges out more than it should for the current geological model. Several geologists have hypothesized that there must have been some deep volcanic activity in the geologic past that burst through thousands of feet of carbonate material and limestone, bringing metals, possibly even gold, closer to the surface. Gold, silver, and copper are frequently found together. Accordingly, there actually could be deposits of some of these metals, as described by Plato, in the Bahamas. Of course, any maritime society would also trade for such things. The gold and copper in the Maya area were obtained through extensive trade networks, as were many other valued items. In 2002, our nonprofit corporation, APEX, Advanced Planetary Explorations Institute, undertook an expedition to the Bahamas for investigating Bimini and Cat Island. We contracted with the Ocean Technologies LLC to operate the side-scan sonar part of our project, thereby verifying targets obtained 4 years earlier. All of the underwater features measured proportional to human architecture. They included 2 post-lintel systems, multiple rectangular features with corresponding shadows of what seemed to be a structure, and a large feature with apparently multiple tiers and a staircase. It looked very much like a Mesoamerican temple. After bad weather terminated any further efforts, I flew to Cat Island to examine the triple concentric arcs 5 to 7 miles from shore toward Little San Salvador. One of the circles was just inside the outer arc, the only one that breaks the top of the water. On its inward side, I saw flat, exposed surfaces of limestone. If this was indeed the outer wall of Plato's Atlantis, one would expect it to be higher than the inner ramparts because it would be the primary defensive wall. I next examined what appeared to be a line intersecting in a second inward arc 6 feet beneath the surface. Atlantis has been searched for in every quarter of the globe without success. Perhaps all that remains to be done is following the clues to Plato's lost civilization among the islands not far from our own shores. And that's another possibility of what could be under Rockwall. These guys who did expeditions down to some of these caves that have been covered up for years. That's another thing people ask me, is that stuff still there? Well, it's there somewhere. Finding where it was at and being able to excavate, it's one thing. But, there's, these reports of these black pillars that seem to be described as the pillars of Enoch. Black marble that shone like the Orient being found underneath Rockwall. It's absolutely crazy. Well, that's the end of chapter 23. Next time we'll get into chapter 24, Bolivia's Atlantean Canals by J.M. Allen. And in our continuing series of reading the Lost Worlds of Ancient America, I want to thank everybody for being with us here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We need your support right now. Hit the chip in banners, the donate button, whatever you can. We got to pay the stream bill by Friday, and we got to get this film made. Please help us if you can. Support our work. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. My name is Josh Reeves, and I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time for the broadcast. You guys have yourselves a great one. Take care.